This is Sideline Radio with Shaki Verado, Episode 11, Sideline Chatter, Athletes who are coping with serious medical conditions. If you get nothing else out of this episode, get this. You are not alone.
You're listening to Sideline Radio, a podcast by Sideline Society, where we firmly believe that it takes a village to raise a child and a sideline to support an athlete. In a lifestyle where schedules are hectic, to-do lists are overwhelming, and it's always time to go, sports mom of 3 and sideline guru Shaki Verado will help you navigate your life on the sidelines and redefine what organized chaos should look like. Here's your weekly ticket to take a time out. Huddle up and hear real talk from others who get it, while learning the best tips, hacks, and strategies to help you navigate your life on the sideline, one season at a time. If you're ready to tackle your crazy schedule and make memories instead of migraines, you're in the right place. Here's your host, Chief Sideline Hacker, Target Enthusiast, and French fry lover, Shaki Verado.
What's up, Sideline Hackers? Shaki here. You know, Shaki, it rhymes with hockey, and it's short for Shakira, like the singer. We've got your first edition of Sideline Chatter ready for your earbuds, and you are not going to want to miss this very serious yet empowering conversation, especially if you have or if you know an athlete who is coping with a serious medical condition. So without further ado, let's jump right on in. All right, so we are introducing Kim Bryson. She is one of our Sideline Hacker members in our Sideline Hacker community in our Facebook group, and she is a mom that I have known for quite some time. Our boys actually played football together, run track together for the past couple of seasons, actually past couple years, I guess. And so we're bringing her on today because she brought up a great idea of a topic, a conversation to have around having an athlete who has a medical condition and how that experience has been significant in her sideline life. So here is Kim. Hi, Kim.
Hi.
Thanks for
having me on. This is exciting.
Yes, we're very excited to have you. I've been wanting to get you on for some time now. So I'm glad you brought up this topic. I think that, a lot of moms and just sports families may be dealing with this sort of circumstance and want to just talk about it and see how this has impacted you and your family and your sideline life. So if you could just let us know about you and your athletes. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, my name is Kim. I am married, and I have 3 wonderful kids. One in high school, she's a freshman, and I have my other son. He's in middle school. He's in 8th grade, getting ready to go to high school, and I have a third grade son as well. So this topic I'm really excited to discuss this because I know there's a lot of other athletes out there with the same condition as my middle son. He's my 8th grader. He was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes in 4th grade, so he was 10. He just turned 10 the spring of May of his 4th grade year. So that was a shock for us, number one, because diabetes doesn't run in our family. We did not understand what that meant. When he was diagnosed, we kind of went through a crash course of learning what it is, how to manage it, counting carbs. So we've met with a number of doctors and nurses to kind of just get this crash course in let's say 24 to 48 hours.
Wow.
Because it's a life-threatening disease. It is a disease. Mm-hmm. So we had to learn how to manage it. And, it's interesting because when we're learning all this information from the beginning, we're like, okay, how are we going to know all this? How are we going to keep track of all this? What are we going to do? And what's interesting is when I was given the news, of course, my son wasn't in the room. When his pediatrician said, he's got type 1 diabetes, I was like, okay, the first thing he's going to ask me is, can I still play football? She's like, oh, absolutely. He can play football, this and that. So brought him in the room and she explained to him what he had. And he did ask, can I still play football? So, she said, oh yeah, absolutely. You can do that. But, you just have to manage your blood sugar levels. So now here it is, 4 years later? And I feel like everything that they said in the hospital, like, oh, you'll be able to count carbs with just looking at a plate of food, is so true. Like, I can look at some food and I can figure out, oh, that's about 26 grams of carbs, or that drink right there, that's 17 grams, or that much right there, that's 34 grams of carbs. I can look at it and just figure it out. And he is the same way. And I tell you, when he was diagnosed, for me, I think it was harder on me and my husband than it was on him. I mean, he took it like a trooper. I mean, he was on it from the beginning. He learned how to count his carbs. He learned how to self-administer. I never thought I'd be able to get the courage to prick him with a needle every day, several times a day, to check his blood sugar levels and to give him medicine, because every time he eats, he's got to take insulin. You know, so that's something that he kind of took charge of, and counting his carbs and understanding, you know, this, I gotta read the labels and understand, count my carbs up, divide my numbers up, and understand how much insulin I should take with each meal. Right. And checking his numbers throughout the day to make sure that he's not too high or too low. You know, so it was a roller coaster for us for a while, but you know, we have our ups and downs. You know, he's a teenager now, so he's at the point where, you know, sometimes he thinks he's got it all in order, and I'm looking and at his he's on a pump now. So I'm looking at his information on his PDM, and I'm like, no, you know, you must have calculated something wrong, because these numbers are way off. So we're still on that roller coaster, you know, but it's an ongoing process, and it's something he has to deal with for the rest of his life. Okay. You know, so our frame of mind now is, you know, not only are we getting ready for events, either sports related, school related, whatever, we have to think about packing snacks, packing the glucose tablets if he's runs low, if his blood sugar level drops, packing extra insulin, extra supplies, and needles, or if we need the needles, and, you know, this and that. So it's not just about packing equipment for games and food. It's about, okay, what about his medical stuff, his glucagon, if he was to, you know, go into shock, you know, how to, you know, to administer that. So it's an ongoing process. Wow. But fortunately, it's something that we've handled well. We have, you know, knock on wood, thank the Lord, that we haven't had any big issues where he's had to be hospitalized since he was first diagnosed. And I will tell you, when he was first diagnosed, he was not sick. A lot of times when people and adults can be diagnosed with type 1 diabetes as well, because we have a close friend of ours that was diagnosed around the same time as Davis, and he was in his 40s. But he was not sick. I took him to the doctor because I noticed he had frequent urination, and he ate a lot anyway, so that wasn't something that really was a red flag for me. Neither was him drinking a lot, because he would drink water all the time, but it was just the urination part that really was like, I need to take him to the doctor and make sure everything's okay. And that's when we realized, oh, he's got type 1 diabetes. But fortunately, the doctor did say, had we waited another day or two, he would have been sick as a dog.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And so that's amazing. And I'm glad to hear that he has adjusted well, you know, and that he is, again, able to still play his sports, because he's involved in multiple sports. I mean, it's not just football that he plays. I know he runs track. And like, I mean, he's a multi-sport athlete. So, what type of lessons have you learned personally as a sports mom in dealing? I know you mentioned having to pack other kits, right? And making sure you have more supplies than just the gear and the uniforms and things that if you hadn't had to deal with this condition. So what other lessons have you learned that you feel over time?
Well, I don't know if it's lessons that I've learned, because this is something that, you know, we couldn't avoid. But I think for us, we use it as, you know what, this has happened, and maybe the reason why this has happened is to help us educate others, you know, because for him going to school, he's got to administer medication. His friends are asking, what is that? Why do you have that? How did you get it? Kind of thing. And for us as parents, we can educate other adults. And I tell them that all the time. I said, you have been tasked to educate others. I believe this is why you have been diagnosed with this. And we're dealing with this as a family. So it's not just you alone. We're a team. We're going to deal with this all together. So I don't know if it's lessons. And I guess the lesson would be is me understanding type 1 diabetes and how it can affect others, because I've known people with type 1 even before Davis was diagnosed, but I never really understood it.
Right.
Until now it's hit, home for us.
Right. And so I'm curious to know, you don't necessarily disclose that information, right? I mean, like he's able to go and play any sport he wants, for that matter, and not have to disclose any sort of information about medical needs. But do you disclose that information to the coaches, and do you give them a background on it? Kind of just like,
absolutely. Only because, when because he plays football, he plays basketball, he runs track.
Mm-hmm.
So, and also with school, they also are aware, because at any point in time, he could go in diabetic shock.
Mm-hmm.
So with that in mind, we have to make sure that coaches, team moms, or whoever, or schools are aware of this is what he's.
Okay, right.
With it. So when he goes, to be able to administer his glucagon if at any time he was to go into diabetic shock.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Same thing with his coaches. At any time he could, have a low in the middle of a game where he has to come out, he has to, drink a juice or take glucose tablets, and he has to sit for a few minutes, 15 minutes. We check his numbers again to make sure they're up, before he can get back into a game.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we really try to instill in him the importance of checking his numbers before practice or before games during the course, because his numbers could go up because of adrenaline, because the excitement and adrenaline of playing a game.
Okay.
But his numbers could also drop, because now he's coming off that high of the adrenaline high. So we kind of have to monitor his numbers before, during, and after game.
Mm-hmm.
24-hour thing. I mean, it's something that is on our minds all the time, from the moment we wake up to when we go to bed. I mean, and there's times we get up in the middle of the night to check his numbers to make sure, he's not too low or too high.
Wow. Okay.
It's a way of life. Let's put it that way.
I would think, it's something, like you said, he's now living with for the rest of his life. And so he's created these routines, right? Or you all have it. You said, your family, you've created these routines to help him get into a habit of checking his numbers before, during and after a game. Practices too, I'm sure. Then you say he takes, his kits and packs and things to school with him. And so he's become responsible for that. How was that transition as far as helping him become more responsible for his own numbers?
And that's interesting, because from the time he was diagnosed, he took on the responsibility of learning how to administer his medication, learning how to count his carbs, and learning how to add up the carbs and make sure he's taking the right amount of insulin. So he's really taken ownership since 10 years old.
Wow.
So yeah. So, and now it's at the point where, I'm glad he's taking ownership, they told us this, that, just wait till he becomes a teenager, then he'll kind of take over himself. And sometimes we kind of have to reel him back in and say, you got to include us in on this, because we got to know what your numbers are so we can kind of help you manage and stuff. So right now we're kind of dealing with that as a teenager. He wants a little bit more independence, but at the same time, he still needs our help. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. Wow.
Because sometimes, and especially because of the hormones and all. So, his numbers are going to fluctuate because, of the hormones and him growing and this and that. So we need to be in on, okay, so your numbers are high right now. So, because we calculate everything correctly. But okay, so maybe we need to change your basal. maybe you don't need as much, you maybe need a little bit more medication throughout the day. Fortunately, he's on a pump. So, and there are different kinds of pumps out there for people to use. But the one pump he has is tubeless. So the PDM, which is like the remote, kind of talks to the pod, which he has on him at all times. So, and he also uses Dexcom, not as often as we would like, but the Dexcom kind of monitors where his sugar levels are in terms of, it tells you if it's going up or if it's going down or if it's level. So that kind of helps too with us managing his blood sugar levels.
I see. And really, you've become an expert in his care, which it sounds like, of course, you would need to be. So I think that's one thing, that other parents that one piece maybe of advice that's coming to me is, really just be involved and get as much knowledge as you can on the situation, on the condition, and how you're able to best support your athlete.
Absolutely.
And talk to whomever you need to talk to. And, did you have to get second opinions and things, or did you, how did you have to research the different products and different medications and things, or, has your doctor been a really good support for that?
Yeah, absolutely. His endocrinologist she's phenomenal. She's phenomenal. I mean, she tells it like it is. She's very, very, she's very nurturing, but at the same time, she will tell you, you're not doing this right, and this is what you need to do. And there's a support staff from educational support to psychologists, because it can be overwhelming, especially for kids growing up, because it can be an inconvenience. They're out with their friends, and then one chip turns into a whole bag of chips, and then you don't take the medicine you're supposed to take, and then your numbers are off the charts. And so it can be an inconvenience sometimes. And then also too, there are some kids out there that, don't understand type 1 diabetes, and, kind of make fun of kids that have diabetes. Like, oh, if I, touch you, I might get it, and it doesn't work that way, So, and he's dealt with the teasing and all as well, but he also has a great support system with his friends as well, because they'll also tell him, hey, did you check your numbers, or, you need to take medicine for this. And when he was first diagnosed in fourth grade, he explained to his classmates, what he had, and him and the nurse talked to his teacher and his classmates, and they were wonderful. So they kind of knew some of the symptoms to look for. I think one time he kind of stumbled a little bit in class, and one of his classmates told his teacher, say, hey, I think, he's having his sugar levels are off.
Wow.
So they escorted him to the nurse, and so it really helps to have a support system in place, because, you get to the point where, for him, where he gets around his friends and gets a little comfortable and has maybe one too many juices or sodas or a bag of chips, and really doesn't take that medicine like he should, but got that support system where his friends are really monitoring, hey, you need to do this,
right. And, on that note, that is what Sideline Society is all about for sports moms, is that support system. And so I'm glad you brought that up, because no matter what the situation is or who it is so important to realize that you need to have a system of support in place. You need to have people who know your situation, know what's going on, and can be there to help support you when you aren't maybe in your best shape. And that's exactly what it sounds like they're there for Davis. So that's awesome.
Right. Because we can't be with them 24 hours a day.
No, we can't. As much as we may want to, right? We may want to be with them and just watch over them and make sure the best people are around. But definitely setting up that system and just making sure, communicating, keeping those lines of communication open. It's crucial. It really is.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But I appreciate the time to kind of express this, and I know this is an important topic, and I'm hoping that I can share my story and help others that may be newly diagnosed, or those that have been diagnosed for a while, and we can kind of share information and
Definitely.
Kind of support each other.
Oh, absolutely. And as a matter of fact, we will continue this conversation in the group. So if you're listening and you're not already a part, you can go over to Facebook and join the Sideline Hackers group, and we'll continue this conversation because it is important. And again, to know that there are people out there who are, shared these circumstances, and they may have information that you don't have, or just have a lending ear that they can, you can tell them your situation and they can understand and help you cope with it. So thank you so much for that. And with that, we're going to go ahead and transition into our Sideline Life lightning round. This is just a quick round of questions to kind of help summarize who Kim is as a sports mom. It's just 5 questions for you. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. All right. Number 1, what's a gear item or a resource that has helped you in your sideline life? Is something that you can share with the Sideline Radio audience?
A resource, other parents.
Okay.
Definitely other parents.
Very
because
good.
there are things that may work for me that can also work for other parents, and things that work for them that they can also share with me. So definitely other parents. It's a great resource.
Okay. All right. Number 2, who is a fellow sports mom that inspires you?
I would say you.
Oh my gosh.
You, because you juggle all these things. You've got a lot going on. Of course, we all have a lot going on, but
Yes, we do.
you seem to keep it all together, and I admire that. And you're always taking on new tasks.
You're so funny. Okay, thank you. Thank you for that.
And that's the truth. That is the honest to goodness truth.
I appreciate you, Kim. All right, number 3, what's a personal habit that has helped you in your sideline life?
I would definitely, I'm a micromanager when it comes to my kids and activities and being prepared for sports and getting to where we need to get to on time. So definitely my phone, because I didn't realize, we had a conversation. I didn't realize how much I do pull out my phone when we talk about activities coming up, things that we need to do. I use my reminder app all the time. I use my calendar all the time. That's my lifeline.
Yep.
So if I lose my phone, I'm in big trouble.
Exactly. We were literally just talking about that before this conversation. But the fact that we both will whip out our phones with the quickness and start typing down some dates and
yes.
Too funny. But no, absolutely, completely understand that.
Especially with multiple kids going in 3 different directions. I'm like, I'm a planner. I got to know what's going on when.
Right. Exactly. Number 4, what is your go-to late night dinner?
I'm a burger girl. I love burgers.
I am too. I'm not even gonna lie. And French fries. Like, I love French fries. Oh my God.
Yes. Ooh. Yes. And that's my son's weakness. And that's another issue with the whole diabetes thing and the carbs. But luckily he can burn it off pretty fast. So. But yeah, I'm a burger girl all the way.
All right. Very good. And last question. What's your parting advice for fellow sports moms who value their kids playing sports, but may be overwhelmed at the thought of being a sports mom?
I would say do not be afraid to ask for help. And that's one thing that I learned, especially with my husband's schedule. A lot of times it's all on me to get my 3 kids in 3 different places at the same time. So networking with other parents on the team and, getting with them and kind of do a carpooling, rotating thing definitely helps, because you can't do it all by yourself. You can't. It's very hard.
You can't. You are speaking the truth. It is very, very difficult. So don't try. Yeah.
It definitely takes a village. And the thing is, and you feel like you're alone, but you're not. That's the thing. You feel like you're alone, but when you ask for help and it's like, oh yeah, I can do this, or I can do that. And, you tag team, it makes life and getting involved with sports a whole lot more easier, and you're happy and your kids are happy.
Exactly.
You're not biting their heads off.
That too. You want to make sure you don't do that.
Yes. So, but yeah, definitely not being afraid to ask for help. That's the big thing.
Awesome. Well, there you have it. That is That is it. Thank you so much, Kim, for joining me
Well,
today.
thank you.
Hey there, sorry to jump in here, but I wanted to pop back in with a quick dose of encouragement and a little something extra. You probably show up at games and tournaments with nothing more than the clothes on your back, your purse on your shoulder, and your phone in hand. You take a glance around, and there are moms with cool little bleacher chairs, wagons to haul it all away in, and coolers full of food. And you're wondering, where did they get that from? How do they know what to be prepared for? And most importantly, what the heck are they packing? Surely you can't be expected to haul your house in your trunk. And rightfully so, especially as a newbie sports mom. But throughout my years, I've found that being prepared for anything the sideline throws my way is the number one way that I dial down the stress and make sure that I'm ready to make memories instead of migraines as a sports mom. And to celebrate that simple fact, I've created a totally free guide, the Ultimate Sports Mom Survival Guide and Survival Bag Checklist, and you can get your hands on it for free at sidelinesociety.com. Again, hit pause, hop on over to sidelinesociety.com, get your guide, and get more resources all devoted to helping you live, love, and rock your life on the sideline one season at a time. And then, of course, you can jump back into this awesome episode. So I think we dug into a really important conversation today, and one that may not see the light of day as much as I think it should. I think Kim really touched on some really key points about having that system of support and, taking the time to understand the situation, understand and get knowledge on your particular circumstance or your athlete's particular circumstance, and being wise about the action steps that you do take to make sure that you are prepared on the sideline to best support your athlete. So thanks again all for joining me today. Please take a minute to subscribe, and 2 more minutes if you don't mind, and leave a review on iTunes. You would totally make my day if you did. Let's be honest, I thrive off of your feedback, and believe me when I say it's actually something that I look forward to seeing because it really helps me to provide value to your sideline life. And fun fact, it also helps other sports moms to find us, so it would be very much appreciated if you did. Also, I'd love it if you came and joined us in our interactive community for sports moms and teen moms. It's called Sideline Hackers, and we're over in Facebook in a private Facebook group. And you can join the group by going to Facebook, searching Sideline Hackers, and clicking to request to join. And don't worry, I have quick thumbs, so you'll be in no time. You guys, if you're not joining us in our Facebook community, you're basically just missing out. It's a ton of fun, just safe place to share the show with other listeners, join in on exclusive giveaways and challenges, and to just be you as a busy sports mom who loves watching her kids play. Lastly, if you want to find me on social media, you can find me on Instagram, Pinterest, and Facebook at Sideline Society, and on Twitter at Shaki Verado. I'm always posting fun moments about my own sideline life in my stories, and if you tag me and use the hashtag Sideline Life, I love to repost my followers. So if you have any questions or comments about today's episode, please come and join us over in Sideline Hackers Facebook group, where we'll be carrying on this conversation. We would love to hear from you, and maybe you have some great tips or insight that you can share with us. We really value your perspective, so please join us. Until next time, Sideline Hackers, keep hacking that sideline because they appreciate you for it, and so do we, for all that you do.
Thanks for listening to Sideline Radio. Dive into the show notes for this episode and all past episodes at sidelinesociety.com/Sideline Radio. If you love the show, share it with a sports mom. Remember, it takes a sideline to support an athlete. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you soon, you Sideline Hacker you.